Well, I liked it, though.
Okay, we're more or less in agreement. Pat Morita, I think, are possible for an Oscar nomination if the movie does it at the box office.
No way.
Okay, I'll see you in a couple of months.
Noriyuki Pat Morita in The Karate Kid.
This is it. This is the end of the line. You're telling me.
The Karate Kid is sort of a combination of Enter the Dragon and Rocky, telling the story of a teenager who is picked upon by kids in school until he finally meets his bullies in a karate tournament that ends the film.
1984, Columbia Pictures released The Karate Kid, a coming-of-age martial arts drama built as a Rocky for kids. It starred Ralph Macchio as Daniel, a new arrival to Rosetta. After running into bullies at his high school, Daniel meets up with Mr. Miyagi, who trains him in martial arts.
It gets a big thumbs up for me, and especially because of Pat Morita as that Japanese-American janitor who's going to teach him all the moves.
With only an $8 million budget, the film would become one of the biggest films of 1984, bringing in over $100 million at the box office. The success of the film would spawn 3 sequels, a cartoon series, a 2010 reboot, and a YouTube series in 2018. However, there were no action figures in 1984. It would take 2 years for action figures based on the film to hit the stores.
He is quicker.
Rule number 1, karate for defense only.
He is wiser.
Rule number 2, fast than rule number 1.
That year, with the release of Karate Kid Part 2, Columbia knew they had a hit on their hands and signed a toy deal with Remco Toys to produce action figures based on both films. Although some of the figures in the line were based on the sequel, Part 2 was left off the title on the package. Fleetwood Toys would release a role-playing toy line that same year. A total of 15 figures would be released in the series. It seemed Remco knew to get as much into the stores as they could and time it with the release of the sequel. Out of the 15 figures, there were only 7 characters released. The line would also feature 3 playsets. 3 figures based on Daniel was released. One with a breakaway board, another with breakaway wood, and one with breakaway ice. 2 Johnny figures were made, one with breakaway bamboo fence and another one with a breakaway wall. 2 Kreese figures were made, one with a breakaway wall and another one with a breakaway chair. 3 Mr. Miyagis were made, one with a breakaway pole, another with a breakaway log, and the third a breakaway wood. 2 Chosen figures were made, one with a breakaway board, the other with a breakaway pole. 2 Sato figures were made, one with a breakaway chain, the other with breakaway fighting poles. Also released was a 6-pack action figure set that came with Daniel and Mr. Miyagi. The playsets included an action alley and training center, Sato's cannery, and the third, a competition center with a referee action figure. Overall, the figures look great, and the likeness, at least for the main characters, are spot on, especially for the time period. They have an action play feature that makes them fun to play with, even if you only have one in the line. One thing that probably hurt the line was so many of the same figures being released that came with different pieces of wood. Although the figures were dressed a little different, I can't see where kids would rush out to spend their allowance on another Daniel figure that is almost like the one they had, just because it came with a different accessory. The figure sold pretty well, but once the sequel left the theaters, kids seemed to quickly move on, and Remco canceled the line shortly after release. Figures could be found for a few more years at closeout stores and on clearance racks. With the release of Karate Kid Part 3, Columbia opted out of releasing action figures for the film, and Karate Kid figures would not return to the toy stores until 2016 with the release of the Super 7 Funko action figure line. That's a look at the failed movie action figure line based on The Karate Kid. Thank you for watching. As always, please thumb up so I know you like my content and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back again very soon with another video.
Karate Kid 2, available for video rental. 8 stars now available from Hornby.
Junkman.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.